Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, I am going to talk about the concept of diseases in plants. We all know there are different types of microorganisms. There are certain microorganisms which specifically infect human beings, and there are microorganisms which can also infect the plants, and we call them as plant pathogens. And these pathogens could be of bacteria, fungi or viruses. These pathogens are specific towards the host. For example, there are certain microorganisms which are capable of replicating within the host of human beings. And they are capable of causing the infection only in the human beings, but they doesn't cause any harm to the plants. Whereas there are certain microorganisms which are capable of growing within the plants, but they don't cause any harm to the human beings. So they are specific towards the host. For example, if we take a bacteriophage, so this is a virus which specifically infects bacteria, right? So there are different types of microorganisms which can specifically infect human beings, plants and also animals. So today I am going to specifically talk about the diseases that are caused in the plants. So these diseases are caused by a plant pathogen, whether it could be a bacteria, fungi or a virus. Now in this session I am going to talk about the development of the disease and as well as the symptoms that a plant express after it gets infected with a bacteria, fungi or a virus. Before we go into the topic, here you need to know that plants do experience stress. Remember, not only the human beings, plants do experience stress from various factors. They are abiotic factors and biotic factors. Abiotic means non-living, whereas bio means life, right? So biotic means living organisms. So what are the living organisms? We can say microorganisms. We can include insect pests, etc. So what are the living organisms which are responsible for causing stress in the plants? They are microorganisms, insect pests, etc. When we come to the abiotic stress factors, here we can include salinity, drought stress, high temperatures, extreme cold conditions, ionic stress, etc. So all these factors comes under the abiotic stress factors. Whereas the microorganisms, see these microorganisms we simply call it as plant pathogens. Pathogens in the sense the organism which is capable of causing infection in the host. So here we are going to concentrate much on these microorganisms. We can discuss about the other factors later, but right now I am going to talk in detail about these plant pathogens. So how the disease is developed, and after the development of the disease, what kind of symptoms does a plant express? What exactly happens with the plant when it is infected with a pathogen? It is going to express the symptoms, right? It is going to develop a disease as we do. When a human being is infected with a bacteria or a fungi or a viral organism, we do express the symptoms of a disease, right? Similarly, plants also express the symptoms after the development of a disease. If we can make out the presence of infection at the correct time, we can prevent the spread of infection, and thereby we are going to protect the crop. So it is very important to know about the different diseases that are caused in a plant. When these plants are infected by microorganisms, whether they could be of bacteria, fungi or virus, there will be an alterations in the metabolic activity of a plant. There will be a reduction in the capacity of a plant to survive. Moreover, the growth and the productivity of the plant is affected. And when the disease is prolonged, it may lead to the death of a plant. So what results we can observe in a plant when it is infected with a pathogen? So all the metabolic activities of a plant will be disturbed. And here once the plant is subjected to stress, whatever the factor it could be, whether it could be a biotic or a biotic factor, plant's growth rate will be affected. yield will be reduced, thereby leading to the death of a plant. Now, let us discuss about the development of disease in plants. Before we talk about the symptoms, first we need to know about the development of disease in plants. In order to develop disease in plants, first the microorganism should come in contact with the plant. That is the initial contact of microorganisms with the plant. If we take again the example of bacteriophage, so these are the viruses which are going to infect the bacteria, right? So this virus should come in contact with the bacteria. Then this bacteria will be infected with the virus. Similarly, in order to develop a disease, first this microorganism should come in contact with the plant. Here the plants are used as a host for the microorganism. Whatever you take, whether it could be a bacteria, fungi or a virus, first those organisms should come in contact with the plant, right? So followed by the entry of pathogen into the plant. Once they come in contact with the plant, what they do in the next step, they are going to enter into the plant system. After the entry of pathogen into the plant, now what the microorganism will do? It is going to start its growth within the infected host, followed by the development of plant disease symptoms. Now the plant is going to express the symptoms after the development of the disease. Hope you are clear with all the 4 steps. So now let us discuss about the each step in detail. Coming to the initial contact, here the pathogenic microorganisms will come in contact with the plant either in the rhizoplane or on the phylloplane. Phylloplane is nothing but the habitat that is directly on the surface of the leaf, whereas the rhizoplane is the root system and its adhering soil. Hope you are clear with the rhizoplane and the phylloplane. So here, as we are talking about the initial contact, these microorganisms will come in contact with the plant either on the rhizoplane or on the phylloplane, that is onto the root system or onto the leaf surface, right? The pathogenic microorganisms which are capable of causing disease in plants could be of bacteria, fungi and viruses. Coming to the bacterial pathogens, these bacterial pathogens are mainly transmitted by insect vectors. We all know that there are different types of insects that feed on the plants, and these insects play an important role in carrying these pathogens to the plant system. So here they act as vectors. They are going to carry these microorganisms to the plant system. So here we are talking about the initial contact, right? So this microorganism should come in contact with the plant and followed by the entry of that particular microorganism into a plant system. So in order to come in contact with the plant system here, especially when we talk about the bacterial pathogens, these bacterial pathogens are carried by the insect vectors. Moreover, there are certain bacterial species which are pathogenic to the plants are present in the soil, and these organisms are motile. Best example is Pseudomonas species. These organisms are attracted towards the plant by chemotaxis. What is meant by chemotaxis? Here, plants will produce certain chemicals and these microorganisms are attracted towards those chemicals. So they are going to move towards the concentration of those substances. That we simply call it as chemotaxis. As these are the motile organisms, they are attracted towards the root system of the plants via chemotaxis. So they are going to come in contact with the plant in the rhizoplane. Similarly, there is a fungal species called oidium. So this organism is also attracted towards the plant's root system via chemotaxis. So here this fungal organism, which is a motile pathogenic organism present in the soil, comes in contact with the plant's root system. Moreover, most of the fungal pathogens are dispersed through air in the form of spores. As we all know that these spores are present in the environment. So these fungal spores which are pathogenic to the plant are distributed through air currents. And when they are distributed through these air currents, they come in contact with the plant. So they are going to attach onto the surface of leaves or onto the stem of a plant. and these fungal pathogens are also carried by insect vectors. Hope you are clear with the bacterial pathogens and the fungal pathogens. How they come in contact with the plant system? By chemotaxis, transmitted by the insect vectors, and moreover these fungal spores are dispersed through air, and these spores will come in contact with the plant either on the leaves or on the stem. Coming to the viral pathogens, these viral pathogens are mainly transmitted by insect vectors to phylloplane. That means on the surface of the leaves. So here the insects play a major role in transmitting these plant pathogens, whether it could be a bacteria, fungi or a virus. So these plant pathogens are mainly transmitted by these insect vectors. Apart from this, these plant pathogens are also transmitted by nematodes. These nematodes are the soil-borne animals which are capable of transmitting certain plant pathogens contacting the plant at the rhizoplane, that is at the root system. Hope you are clear with the initial contact. Now let us discuss about the entry of pathogen into the plant system. Coming to the entry of pathogen. So what is meant by pathogen here? The organism which is capable of causing infection in plants is called as a plant pathogen. Of course, there are beneficial bacteria too. If we take example of rhizobia, it's a symbiotic bacteria, right? What is meant by symbiosis? Here both the organisms will get benefit. That means this rhizobia organism is going to get benefit from the plant. At the same time, plant is going to get benefit from this bacteria. So that we call it as symbiosis, right? So this is a nitrogen fixing bacteria. It is going to give some benefit to the plant. This is not a pathogenic bacteria, right? So the pathogens are the organisms which should cause disease in plants, and their growth should be eradicated in order to protect the plant. Coming back to the entry of pathogen, these pathogens may enter into the plant system through wounds or through natural openings. Natural openings means opening and the closing of the stomata. Most of the fungal pathogens and the viral pathogens will enter into the plants through wounds passed by the insect vectors carrying the virus, whereas some other viruses will enter through the root system when the water is taken up by the plants. Some of the plant pathogens, after they come in contact with the plant, they will penetrate directly through the cuticle of the plant. And the best example is Fusarium solani. What these microorganisms will do? They are going to penetrate through the cuticle of the plant after the initial contact of this microorganism with the plant. As a part of entry of pathogen, plant tissues and cuticles are often subjected to enzymatic attachment by the plant pathogens. So what these plant pathogens will do? They are going to soften the tissue at the site of penetration. The best example is Ersifa species, so which is capable of causing powdery mildew, and the other example is Botrytis cinerea, which is a soft rot pathogen. Hope you are clear with the initial contact and the entry of the pathogen. So now what is the next step? Growth of the infected pathogen, right? So once this pathogen enters into the plant system, what it is going to do? It is going to start its growth. It is going to infect the tissue of a plant, right? So here the microorganisms which have successfully gained the entry into the plant system disrupts the plant's normal function by releasing certain toxins, degradative enzymes and growth regulators. Coming to the toxins, these plant pathogens which are capable of producing these toxins, after the release of these toxins into a plant system, they are going to alter the metabolic activity of a plant. Best example is Pseudomonas tobacco. This organism causes tobacco wildfire disease by releasing a toxin called beta-hydroxydiaminopimelic acid. So once this toxin is released by the Pseudomonas tobacco, what happens? This toxin is going to interfere with the metabolism of methionine. Methionine is a amino acid, right? as I told you just now, right? So what these toxins will do, they are going to alter the metabolic activity of a plant. Here the metabolism of methionine is interfered by the release of a toxin called beta hydroxydiaminopimelic acid by a organism called Pseudomonas tobacci, which is a bacterial plant pathogen. Some plant pathogenic fungi produce highly selective toxins, low molecular weight cyclic peptides and linear polyketols which interfere with the mitochondria and the cell membrane that facilitate the spread of infection. Coming to the degradative enzymes, some plant pathogens are capable of producing cellulases, pectinases and hemicellulases, which results in the destruction of plant structures, producing soft rods and other lesions. See, these are the enzymes. Ase is the suffix given to the enzyme, right? Cellulases, that means these are the enzymes which are going to degrade cellulose. Pectinases, these are the enzymes which are going to degrade the pectin. So, with the release of these degradative enzymes by the plant pathogens, these enzymes are going to disturb the plant structures. They are going to alter the plant structures, thereby producing the soft rods and other lesions on the plant. What happens when these growth regulators are disrupted by plant pathogens? We can see dwarfism, right? Dwarfism is nothing but a reduced growth of a plant. Simply we can say it as a stunted growth. That means there will be no growth in the plant. For example, if a normal height of a plant is around 6 feet, if there is a dwarfism, that means if the growth regulators are affected by a plant pathogen, then the plant will exhibit dwarfism. That means it just grows up to a height of 1 feet only. It will not grow further. And there are also certain pathogens which are capable of producing indole acetic acid, gibberellins and cytokinins. These are the growth hormones, right? So when these growth hormones are produced by the plant pathogens, that results in the gall formation and the excessive elongation of stem. Hope you are clear with the difference. See, observe here. If these growth regulators are disrupted by the plant pathogens, that results in the dwarfism. Whereas some plant pathogens are also capable of producing these plant growth hormones, that are indole acetic acid, gibberellins and cytokinins. Of course, these plant growth hormones are required by the plant, but up to a certain level. If their concentration exceeds or if their concentration is very low, that creates a problem in the plant system, right? So if their concentration is not regulated, if their concentration is more, then we can see gall formation and the excessive elongation of the stem. We are done with the initial contact, followed by the entry of pathogen, followed by the growth of an organism. Now what happens? Once the plant is infected with the pathogen and when this organism starts growing within the host of a plant, now the plant is going to exhibit the symptoms. If we take human beings as an example, if a person is infected with coronavirus, definitely he'll exhibit the symptoms of sneezing, coughing, shortness of breath, etc. Right? Similarly, plants do exhibit certain symptoms when they are infected with these plant pathogens. Let us discuss about the each symptom. Necrosis. So we can also call it as rot. Invasion of plant cells by pathogenic microorganisms sometimes results in rapid death of the plant cell. May appear as spots in localized areas. Simply we can define necrosis as rapid death of the plant cell, and that generally results in the appearance of spots in the localized areas. See, first the microorganism should come in contact with the plant system, right? So after that it will gain entry into the plant system. Once it enters into the plant system, it will start growing, right? So as a part of its growth, it is going to disturb all the plant cells, where that causes the rapid death of the plant cell. That usually appear as spots in the localized areas. That is nothing but necrosis. And the next symptom is papillae. Pathogens that penetrate plants directly often elicit a morphological response by the plant with the formation of structures called papillae, which block the spread of infection. So these papillae are the structures that are formed in order to prevent the spread of infection. It's a morphological response that is shown by a plant after the entry of a pathogen. I already told you that some plant pathogens can directly penetrate through the cuticle of a plant, right? So after the penetration of these pathogens, as a part of morphological response, plants will form a certain structures called papillae. Coming to the other symptom, canker. Bacterial cankers is due to damage to water conducting tissues of plants form localized necrosis, resulting in lesions usually on the stem. You might have heard about citrus canker. If you observe a citrus plant or if you observe a lemon, there will be a small brown colored spots with a corky appearance, and if the disease is prolonged, they even exhibit a scabby appearance. That is nothing but a canker. And these cankers are mainly caused due to the damage to water conducting tissues, resulting in the necrosis. Necrosis again nothing but a rapid cell death, right? And resulting in the formation of lesions usually on the stem. Coming to the symptom of wilt, here there will be a blockage of water transport, droopiness due to the loss of turgor, which leads to desiccation and symptomatic wilt. For example, we all have plants in our garden, right? And we water them daily. For suppose if you stop watering the plants, observe the plants next day, all the leaves will fall down, right? So they doesn't look healthy. That is nothing but the wilting. All the leaves will be drooped, right? And I'll give you one more example. Like we give a normal water to a plant, right? For suppose if you replace this normal water with salt water, when you subject this plant with salinity stress, like if you have sodium chloride, just add the sodium chloride to water and you give that salt water to the plant. When there is an excess concentration of salts in the soil, what they do, they are going to block the xylem vessel. So when this xylem vessel is blocked, there will be no uptake of water by the plant. When there is no water, what happens? Then the plant will express the symptom of wilting. That is nothing but the droopiness. That is caused due to the loss of turgor, leading to a desiccation. Simply we can say that the plant experiences the condition of drought. And the best example is fusarium wilt in tomato. Coming to the symptom of chlorosis, here the plant pathogens sometimes produce chlorosis, which prevents plants from oxidative phosphorylation and producing the ATP that is required for the formation of carbon dioxide. Simply we can define chlorosis as the loss of green color in the plants. Coming to the other symptom, that is the gall formation. This is mainly caused due to the alterations in the nucleic acid function. Here, if there is any change in the protein synthesis, that causes the alterations of metabolic pathways and the activities of the enzymes produced. Earlier I told you how the gall is formed. If the indolestic acid, cytokinin and the gibberellin concentration exceeds, that results in the formation of a gall. Coming to the other symptom, that is mosaic. Irregular discoloration results in the mosaic-like symptoms on the stem. Coming to the phytoalexins, these are the broad range of inducible polyphenolic flavonoid or proteinaceous antimicrobial compounds that are produced by a plant as a part of defense mechanism. Once the plant is infected with a pathogen, then the plant will start producing these phytoalexins within the cell and at the site that are under the microbial attack. Soon these phytoalexins will spread to the adjacent cells and then to the whole plant. Now this whole plant will express this antimicrobial compound called phytoalexin. Thereby it is going to protect itself from the microbial attack. That phenomena is called as systemic acquired resistance. Simply we call it as SAR, S-A-R. And necrosis also. Necrosis is nothing but a localized death. Thereby it is going to prevent the spread of infection to the other parts of the plant. This is all about the symptoms that a plant exhibit when it is infected with a pathogen. Hope you are clear with the development of disease and the development of symptoms. Soon I will come up with my next video. Thank you so much.